everybody, it's the Warhipster here, coming at you with another Contrast Plus painting tutorial from the worlds of Warhammer 40,000, and we are back, yes, with the absolutely breathtaking, all-new Defiler. Yes, here it is. What an absolutely spectacular rendition of this glorious, glorious kit. And I'm very excited to paint this one, because I've got a really cool idea for how we're going to get it done. So we're going to jump in and do that in just a sec, but before we do that, I'm going to say a massive thank you to Games Workshop for sending me this one early to build up and paint with all of you. And, well, now it's time to begin. So, it's been primed in grey Seer, and we're going to be painting this up in the colours of the Black Legion. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to start off with some thinned down Runelord Brass. And we're going to apply this over top of all of the trim. And this is because, rather than do all of the black first, the black will cover over any mistakes that we make after we've done this, well, awful bit first. So we're going to apply this Runelord Brass over top of all of the trim, like so. We're just going to take this a section at a time. It's the best way to do this. So just start a panel, finish the panel, then move on to the next one, rather than kind of try and approach it in a sort of haphazard manner. And then, once we've gone through and gotten all of this Runelord Brass done on all of the trim, we'll come back with our next thing, because we're going to get all the trim done fully, almost fully complete, before we go any further with anything else. So that's exciting, isn't it? You know, as far as giant things covered in trim go, that's actually not that much trim in the grand scheme of things. Anyway, well, now that it's all applied, what we're going to do is go to shade it. And we're going to use some Agrax Earthshade to do this. And it's exactly the same methodology. We're just going to start on a panel, work our way around the panel, and then get it all shaded. And then come back. And we're going to highlight it with a dry brush, in case anyone's worried. So once all of that trim is shaded and fully dry, what we're going to do is we're going to dry brush all of it with some Canoptek Alloy. Now we just want to kind of catch the edges really here. So we're going to be quite gentle as we go, but it doesn't matter if we get this on any of the armor panels. So don't worry if you kind of get scuffs across that sort of area. The only places to be kind of a little bit careful around is going to be the flesh, because the rest of the model is basically silver and black, excluding that flesh. So we're just going to be a little bit careful around those areas, but otherwise for the rest of it we're just going for it like this. So with that all done, the biggest problem area of the whole piece is finished. So what we're going to do now is, well, we're going to start working on all the other colours. We're going to start with some Black Legion, and we're going to apply this over top of all of the black armor panels. Now if you get some of this over top of your trim, don't worry too much about it. You can just go in and correct it with some Runelord Brass. And if you get a lot of this on your trim, you can go in and correct it with some Runelord Brass, Agrax Earthshade, and a teensy little bit of Canoptek Alloy. But otherwise, just have fun doing this next bit, because, well, there's a lot of black to apply, but this is significantly less tedious than trying to do all of the trim after having done all of the black. So with all of that Black Legion now applied, should be looking considerably more, well, close to being Warhipster battle ready for sure. So what we're going to do now is we're going to work on all the flesh, and we're going to use some Reikland Fleshshade for this, and we're just going to apply this over top of all the skin. With all that Reikland Fleshshade applied, we're then going to take two shades and we're going to thin them both down in a roughly 4 parts shade to 1 part Lahmian Medium mix. And the two shades are 4 parts Druchii Violet to 1 part Lahmian Medium and 4 parts Carroburg Crimson to 1 part Lahmian Medium mixes. And they're both separate, but we don't need to kind of wash our brush in between them, because what we're going to do is we're going to apply these both over the top of the flesh. We're going to start with some Druchii Violet. We're just going to start applying this all over this sort of area, just like that sort of thing. Then I'm going to go to our Carroburg Crimson pot. We're going to apply this like so. And then we're going to jump back to Druchii Violet. Like that. Then we're going to grab the Carroburg Crimson. Back to Druchii Violet, and so on and so forth across all of our Defiler's flesh. So with that all done, we're now going to take some Flesh Tearers Red, and we're going to apply this over top of all of the smooth cabling. And with all that Flesh Terror's red applied, we're then going to take some Blood Angel's red. And we're going to apply this over the top of these bars. In the chest of the Defiler. Like that. But we're also going to apply the Blood Angel's red over top of the ectoplasma coils. And so with that all done, we now have our final base coat to apply. Actually, there is one more after this. Sorry, I completely forgot about it. The little cord down there. Our next base coat is going to be some thinned down Iron Warriors. And we're going to apply this over top of, well, all of our remaining details except that little band of leather that we just mentioned. So as ever, when you're doing such a large base coat, just take it a section at a time. Get that fully finished before moving on. So with that all done, we're now going to shade all the silver and all the black. I'm going to use some Nuln Oil to do exactly that. And I've forgotten once again about that little leather necklace. We'll get to it, I promise. In fact, we'll do that after this. So for now, we're just going to apply this Nuln Oil over the top of all of these areas. Now, the instinct is going to be to just throw it on there. But I'd recommend that you don't, because this Nuln Oil can really get away from you on a model of this size. And if it gets away from you, you'll have large dark patches where you don't want them. You'll also start to create some texture with how big the puddles will be, which you also don't want to happen. So just take it steady. Again, as we've done throughout this, going a section at a time. But as you can tell, it's actually it's a pretty nifty little paint job that we have on this Defiler. I think it's already looking cracking, and with this shade, we're going to get a nice dark armor colour, as well as some really nice shadows in all that metal. And as ever, it doesn't matter too much if we do get a little bit of this Nuln Oil on some of the trim, because we're just really at this point, even with the black for example, at this point we've just kind of added a little bit of variation here and there to the trim. Same with the Reikland Fleshshade and the Druchii Violet and the Carroburg Crimson in little places. Not done it on purpose, but the happy little accidents have become, well, exactly that, happy little accidents. And before we forget it for the umpteenth time, we're going to take some Cygor Brown and we're going to apply this over the top of this little bit of leather. So with that Cygor Brown now applied, our Defiler is at what I would call a Warhipster battle ready. And I think it already looks pretty fantastic. However, we're not going to leave it there, no. We're going to take it to the next level, and we're going to do this by adding some layers and some highlights. So, what we're going to do first is we're going to take some thinned down Leadbelcher, and we're going to use this to effectively relayer basically just the claws and blades We're just going to avoid any of the recesses. But we just want these claws and blades to be nice and bright. And so with that all done, we're now going to highlight all of our silver with a dry brush of some Ironbreaker. So with all of our silver highlighted, we're now going to take some thinned down Thunderhawk Blue. I'm going to use this to highlight the black. Now, there are some sort of little striations and things on the actual kind of armor panels themselves. We are going to be picking those out as well. But some of them are a little bit kind of tough to see from certain angles. So you just want to angle it into the light. Just to make sure you're grabbing all of those. With all of that Thunderhawk Blue applied, we're then going to take a really small amount of some thinned down Fenrisian Grey. I'm going to use this to add some little spot highlights to the sharpest points in all our black. So with that all done, there's just a couple of things left to do. The first of which is to take some Flayed One Flesh, and what we're going to do is we're going to thin this down just a little bit more than we would normally, sort of 2 or 3 parts water to 1 part Flayed One Flesh. And we're going to use this more or less like a sort of gentle glazing, just on some of the raised areas of all this flesh. So with that all done, we're then going to take a little bit of Cygor Brown. We're going to apply this over the top of these, or I guess we're just going to call them teeth. With that all done, we then just take a little bit of Blood Angel's Red, and we're going to apply this inside the barrel of the plasma. Like that. And we're also going to apply this over the top of the eyes. And finally, to finish off our Defiler, we're going to take just a little bit of Fire Dragon Bright. I'm just going to add just a little spot highlight to the plasma coils. In there. And there we have it, with the base all complete in the same style that we usually do. Stirland Mud, Black Templar for the rocks and all that good stuff. Dry brush with Tyrant Skull. Our Defiler is now finished, and honestly it's a big model, but ultimately it's pretty simple, and you could use this exact same format for any of the others, any of the other God Legion ones, which is pretty cool. I think so, at least. Really cool. If you enjoyed this video, you love the channel, and you'd like to support me further, you absolutely can do so by heading to patreon.com/Warhipster, just like all of these wonderful, amazing people have done. And alternatively, you could become a YouTube channel member by clicking on the join button below, exactly like these fabulous folks have done, scrolling up on the screen before you. There are so many of you out there that it really takes my breath away, and I cannot thank you enough for everything you do, as without you I wouldn't be able to keep making these Contrast Plus videos. And if you really like this video and you want to send me a little thanks, just click on the thanks button just below this video. Don't forget to share it, like it, comment on it, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and to make sure you stay up to date, don't forget to click the bell icon. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all very soon in the next one. Happy wargaming.